What's up, everybody? So, we've been talking about this Epstein stuff. We sort of covered that on last night's live. I just found some stuff from Benny Johnson. We're going to take a look at that and listen to this because he actually has some really good points that might go along with what we were talking about last night. So, let's take a listen. Now, he's getting ready to show an old clip of him and Kash Patel from, I think, 2023.
This is a clip that went viral yesterday. Now I'm perfectly happy when people take clips from the show. Sometimes I'm getting, completely roasted. We do the show live, and I don't have a script. We have no script. We have like some assets that we want to play, some general topics that we want to talk about, but we just kind of like roll here. All right, so I'm perfectly happy when the show goes viral. Some people roast me. I get roasted day and night. It's fun. It's like you're on the internet. That's what happens. Okay, that's you make when I find retards asks for the most retarded person on X, I raise my hand. Okay, I'm perfectly happy to be that guy. Okay, went to community college after all. Still shocked every morning I get to wake up and do this, and I'm thankful for it. I'm grateful for you. Now, we have been grinding for a while, and a clip from 2023 popped up in my feed. Of course, these Blue Anon accounts, these soy libs lie about us. Blue Georgia. There's only a blue Georgia when the water pipes burst, right, at 3 a.m. when they're counting all those mail-in ballots. definitely a blue state, that Georgia. No, it is not. Anyway, this counts as fraudulent as the elections in Georgia. They said that Kash Patel in 2025 said this on our show. First off, no, this was like a long time ago. You can tell by the studio setup and the cameras and everything. This was an old clip. Is actually from 2023. Kash Patel on our program though went viral for talking about the Epstein list and what he was going to do. What should happen to the people on that list? So let's watch the clip. I just want to establish here that we've been working on this for a long time, and like a bulldog with a bone, we are not going to let up now. Here we go.
Are you like in closing here? I want to just be very clear. Republicans could get Epstein's list out now. Like, how would that process work?
Simple. One subpoena to the FBI. Give me the list. Oh, you don't want to give me the list, and you're going to break the law and commit contempt of Congress? We're going to take your money. We're going to take Chris Wray's private jet. Taxpayer-funded G5 rides across the country to his Appalachian State vacation home down to Georgia and all over the rest of the place. That guy doesn't need a G5 government-funded jet. And the second you take that money, you get Epstein's list.
Here's the problem, Cash, is that they shut down the Lolita Express. So how are these guys going to fly on a private jet anymore? It's really a quandary, my friend.
Oh, man.
The good old times. We were trying. We were doing our best with our crappy lighting and crappy camera and our Christmas lights. We were trying. On our program, we've had Patrick Bet-David, Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, back in the day, right? Pam Bondi. They've all appeared here. And a ton of other people inside of the matrices of decision-making that's happening right now in D.C. And I said, you know what? That dog don't hunt yesterday. We've been pretty clear about it. And we have to call balls and strikes. And sometimes you got to be aggressive with your friends. And sometimes you have to call out. I mean, what it means to be a friend is to call out the people when they're not. When your friends are wrong, you got that's what a real friend does, right? Is put your shoulder in. And so we hit the bricks yesterday. And I just tore up my phone and just drove because I was angry because they've mismanaged this. This is not good for the Trump administration. The fallout from this is threefold with this whole Epstein, shut up, we looked into it. One, there is so much demonstrable evidence that what they're saying is untrue.
Yep.
And I don't want to call these people liars.
Right.
And I think that there's like the basic ignorance and an explanation actually to this. And I found the explanation yesterday after
All right.
hunting for it.
Let's hear it.
But prima facie, okay, what the memo says is untrue. That Epstein had no clients. That's
right.
absurdist. It's insane. It insults our intelligence.
Yes, it does.
Why is Ghislaine Maxwell in prison for thousands of counts of sex trafficking? Why is Prince Andrew paying 10 million pound sums to Virginia Roberts, photos with Virginia Roberts on the record? That's just one example. There are thousands of examples. Go through the Epstein documents released. Now, that happened a year ago, last December. A year ago, so December 2024 was when there was a massive tranche of documents released. All of these girls talking about Bill Clinton on the Lolita Express and the island. Jeffrey Epstein saying Bill Clinton liked him young. And there's so much there. To say that Jeffrey Epstein trafficked thousands of women to nobody insults our intelligence, and it atomizes whatever fragile thing that's going on right now inside of the Trump administration. That fragile thing is, let's rebuild trust. We're in charge of these systems.
Right.
We didn't break them. The Trump administration did not break the FBI. They didn't break the DOJ. That was done for decades by very evil men and women. Sure. Remember, is Trump really going to win? No, we'll stop it. You remember that from the FBI? It's like, how evil are these people? The damage was done for decades, okay? But the Trump administration, the will to power, the responsibility of government means that you now own it. You didn't break it, but you own it, and so the nightmare is yours. And the nightmare is this. The American faith in our Justice Department and FBI hovers around 0%.
Yeah.
Right around between the 1 and 0 percentile. And so to pull the whole, nothing happened here, don't believe your eyes, and
Nothing to see here, folks. Right? Look the other way. Nothing to see here. Bullshit.
trust us, bro. We looked into it. Move along. You don't understand what time it is. That style of disclosure to the American people died with your grandparents.
Yeah.
Not since the 1960s.
See, he's just as pissed off about this as I am. And I'm glad. I'm glad that there are plenty of people that are out there in the know, get the attention, saying the same thing I'm saying. Because this is bullshit. We've done the work. We were there. We were digging in. We found the evidence. We know that this is all bullshit.
Have you been able to look Americans in the eye and be like, we looked into it. It's fine. You're good. You're good. Don't worry. The official story is real. Okay? Shh. Move along. You haven't been able to do that for a long time. But you definitely can't do that today. There is zero credibility. You didn't break it, but you bought it, and now it's yours. So stop insulting us.
Right. Enough is enough.
The release was also an insult. The more I thought about it, this memo is real, and it was given to Axios. Why would you give it to Axios? Why would you give it to it was given to a reporter? A reporter who hates Trump and hates the administration. Go check her byline at Axios. Why would you do that? If you're going to come to this conclusion, then there's only one way to do it, okay? And I don't think you should have come to this conclusion. I'm going to straight up say it. And I'll explain why. I'll do what they have refused to do here, and I'll explain to you what's happening. Where all the evidence is. I know where it is. if you're going to come to this conclusion, you better call in Brett Baer. That'd be my suggestion. Call in Brett Baer. Sit down for an hour and say, we are going to talk only Epstein. And I'm going to give you everything that we can. I'm going to explain to you why we came to this conclusion. I'm going to be honest with the American people. Even better, do a press conference where you're standing there taking questions. You're explaining your findings, and you're putting out the documents, whatever. Whatever you do, you're like explaining it to people. Dropping it on a Sunday night at 9 p.m. All of us had to get out of bed to go record this at 10 p.m. because they dropped it at 9 p.m.
Yeah.
I'm normally asleep.
Now listen.
With a liberal reporter, it has all of the hallmarks of you just trying to sweep this under the rug. And so let me explain the fallout, and then let me explain what I know, and then how you fix it. Okay? Let's go. 1, 2, 3. The fallout is that it looks like you're covering up for a predator.
Yep.
The way you did this, there is no list. There was no blackmail. We literally know there's blackmail.
Mm-hmm.
As we talked about. There are many detailed stories on the record of Jeffrey Epstein blackmailing everyone from Bill Gates to Bill Clinton. There was no client list. What the hell are you talking about? What do you mean there's no client list? Ghislaine Maxwell actually had a little black book. I mean, this is what came up yesterday. ALX, please grab me this. This is what came up yesterday. Ghislaine Maxwell had a black book that they didn't have entered into the record.
Right.
That was all locked up.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to get to this. The reason I'm talking about Ghislaine is this is very important. There it is. Thank you. MTG brought this up. Yeah. See that note, please, for our first guest. Here we go. What about the little black book? A 100-page book containing all the names, contact details of 2,000 people, world leaders, celebrities, and businessmen. Click on the article, please. Oh, yeah. Ghislaine Maxwell's little black book to remain secret in court deal. So many deals were struck here. This is what we found out yesterday. But I want to just begin by saying all of those lies, we know that they're not true, okay? They're not true. They're not true, all right? There was a client list. Mm-hmm. They've written about it. You're entering George Orwell territory here.
Right.
Do not believe the sights of your eyes and ears was the final command of the party. It's getting scary. It's weird. I don't like being lied to. Yes, there was a client list. Yes, there was blackmail. And yes, there are lots of questions about Jeffrey Epstein's murder / suicide / he's the first 100% exonerated innocent person to ever go so far out of his way to kill himself in a cell. I mean, the behavior of innocent people, right?
Yeah. Perfectly
normal. All of it
normal.
insults our intelligence.
Yes, it does.
Here's the fallout. The fallout is an atomization of trust with your core constituency, MAGA. The fallout is that it looks like you're protecting predators.
Yep.
And the fallout is that it looks like, once again, the federal government is in the business of covering up for pedophiles.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand? You don't want to be on that side. The way that you don't cover it up is quite simple. You just don't do it. And the way through that is transparency. The only way out is through now. We're going to talk about we're going to talk about what they must do, and we're going to talk about where these files are, because I know. So let's begin.
Let's begin.
Ghislaine Maxwell holds the key to so much of this. Ghislaine Maxwell is alive. She's currently in prison. She's serving a 20-year sentence for trafficking children to nobody. Remember? Yeah.
Right.
Let's pop that article back up. Thank you.
Yeah.
Ghislaine Maxwell is currently appealing her sentence. Her sentence, of course, is sort of a proxy prosecution. What they were going to do to Epstein, they're now doing to Maxwell. They were going after Epstein first, and then they came for Maxwell.
Makes sense. She's above him.
Here's what I found out yesterday. There is no further information at the FBI. The FBI doesn't really house trial evidence. The FBI doesn't prosecute people. The FBI refers for prosecution, but the Department of Justice are the prosecutors. They make the final decisions. There are times when the FBI brings cases and brings evidence, and the DOJ decides not to prosecute for whatever reason. It happens all the time. The FBI cannot put people in jail, meaning the FBI can arrest you, the FBI can charge you. The actual prosecution happens inside the DOJ. The FBI is an intelligence agency. You have to understand the difference between the two. DOJ is final justice, the prosecution of the case. This evidence and this information has been prosecuted. They've used it to go after Ghislaine Maxwell. This evidence doesn't reside at the FBI. The FBI looked for everything that they could possibly get. And there's a system at the FBI that is quite rigorous when it comes to entering in evidence. That's why you're able to actually get text messages like these. I'm not saying it's perfect, but here's a good example. Like, hold on. How do we even know that these messages? This is insane. Trump's not going to win, right? No, we'll stop it. Like, how are they able to get this? Well, the FBI has pretty litigious and a pretty obscene level of data entry and evidentiary entry, both physical and digital. And so we're able to like pull messages from FBI phones like that. The FBI does not house the Epstein evidence. It's not where it's kept. Epstein cases have been brought, and they put people in prison for them, namely Ghislaine Maxwell and Ghislaine Maxwell only.
Okay, so where is it?
Vast majority of
Because
the Epstein evidence currently resides inside of a place called the Southern District of New York. So when we're asking about, let's say,
I just want to remind you that just a month or so ago, we were told that truckloads of paperwork and video and evidence of all kinds was being brought from the FBI to the DOJ, to Attorney General Pam Bondi. So, were we being lied to then? Was that all optics? Let's find out.
here's a good example. Can you please add my screen, Klein? We're asking about, say, this. I asked yesterday. I was told yesterday on a phone call by a federal official, what do you want us to release? You know, there's bad images. You know, there's bad and nasty stuff there. I don't want it. I don't need it. Keep it. I don't need that. Nobody needs any abuse material on the internet. That's not what we're asking for. We don't want that. If it does include some third party that should be charged, then whatever. I don't need any of that on the internet. According to the FBI, that manila envelope right there, right in the image. This photo, by the way, from the government. That manila envelope contains a stack of passports with Jeffrey Epstein using pseudonyms, different names. That box right there, see this little this box? These are boxes of diamonds.
All of those.
Diamonds? Really? Remember Hunter Biden got a diamond from the Chinese government for their shady deals? Where the hell are those exactly? You know, there's no predator material. There's no abuse material in that. Why don't you just send us photos of them? I told this to top federal officials yesterday. Why not just release that? Look at all, like, you can't tell me that all of this is predator material.
Right.
Why not just, like, show people? Why not show people photos of the interior of his home, his paintings, his cars, his cookbooks? Why not start with that? The bloody and insulting idea that we're all like out here calling for the release of child abuse material is probably the most insulting thing about all of this, actually.
I agree.
That's what we're like ravenous for. Shut up.
Yeah. No.
Makes me so angry.
We want to see arrests.
Because it's like attacking the base, and nothing will make my blood boil more.
Yeah.
No, what we're saying is that our own FBI has this photo. Can you please get the evidence, the boxes of evidence? We've played it. We've shown it a million times. There's a bin of hard drives with yellow evidence tape wrapped around them, put there by Jeffrey Epstein. There they are. Okay, sure, there's probably some very naughty and very nasty photos on here. Jeffrey Epstein was a horrible person.
But if nothing else, that's your client
list.
list.
All that's on there. How many
You can
terabytes of
create a
information
client
are on all
list
those hard
from
drives?
that information
You're
alone.
telling me that that's all that's on there? I don't believe you. I don't believe you. And that only Epstein appears in all of those, all of the nasty images? Of course there's probably nasty stuff on there. I don't want it. I don't need it.
No,
Okay.
we don't want none of that. We don't want anybody
Maybe you could
seeing
detail that for us. Maybe you could redact it, right? Like you put just like abuse tape number 3, abuse tape number 4. Maybe you can make a list. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
But like, you can't release this stuff. You can't like do just the basics of like you trust us by releasing this.
And while
Let's
they're
show that again.
while they're making the lists, as they're going through all of these thousands of tapes that Pam Bondi has already admitted that they have, they could create the client list from that alone. Because these tapes were created by Epstein and others to blackmail people. That's what they're there for. They're there for blackmail. So you know that the perpetrators are on those tapes.
The bag of diamonds and passports. You can't just release that. There's no abuse material there. Throw the American people a bone. Have faith in the American people,
I want to see,
and they will return that faith. That's how you engage in a trust bond. Why can't they do it? You're not going to like this answer. You're not going to like it, but it's true. The FBI can't do it because the FBI doesn't own any of this. I know where it is, though. I know where it is. It hasn't been destroyed. That's not true. That's not true.
All right, where is
It's
it?
currently in an evidentiary lockup in the Southern District of New York.
Okay.
Same Southern District of New York that had to have its head cut off. James Dennehy was fired, gave himself a little parade when he was kicked out. They said it was for questioning of agents for January 6 prosecutions. The Southern District of New York very famously considers itself totally independent fiefdom is what it's called inside the DOJ. I heard this many times yesterday as I was calling through lawyers of the DOJ, prosecutors, federal prosecutors, we know FBI agents, like so many people. I had 100 phone calls yesterday to get to the bottom of this. And here's what it was. The Southern District of New York is where all of the big time lawyers that want to get like their names carved on the side of buildings at law firms, they all go to the Southern District of New York. It is a tight ship. It has major prosecutions that roll through it. Obviously, the Diddy trial, Ghislaine Maxwell trial, Epstein trial, these were all brought there. Sam Bankman-Fried. High-profile cases go there. The lawyers who work inside that district, they're for real. And those lawyers are planning on
they didn't do
big
very
things
good
for
with
their
Diddy.
careers. They're not going to squeal. They're going to play by the rules so that they can get a payout when they're done. This evidence sits inside of lockers in the Southern District of New York right now. Why can't we get it? Well, it doesn't belong to the FBI. So let me just dispatch you of that. It doesn't belong to the FBI or Dan Bongino and Kash Patel. They don't even have a right to it. Pam Bondi does. Here's why. Because this case is on appeal with Ghislaine Maxwell, this evidence is currently what's called under seal, meaning that
What I
this
say
evidence
yesterday.
could be used in a trial to exonerate someone, to free someone from prison, to prosecute someone. It's being used actively by the DOJ currently. Because this case is on appeal, Ghislaine Maxwell.
That's exactly what I said yesterday in our live. That if anything at all, the evidence that they need to talk about cannot be talked about because it's under a sealed indictment. That is exactly what I said yesterday.
Is going to try and she's going to get back into court, and she's going to try and use this evidence. Now, who can have access to the evidence? The judge. Their lawyers, Ghislaine Maxwell's lawyers, and the lawyers for the federal government. And of course, Maine Justice can too. But it's the Southern District of New York that is locked up this evidence. So all of the things that would create a trust bond between the Trump administration and the American people is currently under lock. Now, there is a way to get it. Because this, of course, seems like it would be a very convenient deep state tactic to ensure that we never get any evidence. And that you continue this friction between federal law enforcement and the heads of these departments and the MAGA base. And you continue what I personally believe is an operation to discredit them. I believe this is not that's being currently run, and it's being run effectively. There are ways that Maine Justice, Pam Bondi, but they control this evidence. They have all of it. They have control of it, can request in the public interest and can argue that this needs to be released and can go about releasing it. Maybe little bits here and there, maybe big tranches. And as a massive, hopeful call out, let me explain. What they did with JFK was the gold standard. What happened with JFK may not have made you happy. It didn't make me 100% happy. It was imperfect, meaning there's no such thing as like a smoking gun, but it was incredible. Hundreds of thousands of documents. Very fascinating things that we learn about Operation Mongoose, about the ops that were run all throughout Central America, all throughout the world by the CIA during that time. Connections with the foreign intelligence agencies, the mafia, the mob, Mossad. It's fascinating. The constellation got sort of put together, and people's priors were either confirmed or unconfirmed. And through doing that, Tulsi established trust with the American people. She said, I trust you that you can handle it. Here it is. And the most amazing thing about these documents, the most amazing thing about them, virtually zero redactions. She wasn't just releasing black pages to us, which are an insult. There's almost no redactions. And I spoke yesterday with Anna Paulina Luna, who has been such a pit bull on all this. And she was whistling Dixie, man. She was so happy. She says you have virtually every document in the JFK release that I requested through my security clearance and my job on the Intel Committee. You have virtually everything. There are a couple of documents that are still lingering there, waiting to be released. They're going to be released. She's so happy about it. This is the gold standard and the only way out for the Trump administration. Let me just say it. There's one way out, and that is through. What happened yesterday was an insult to all of us.
Yep. It was a slap in the face.
I don't like that. I don't like it when there's unnecessary frictions with the base. This was a crisis, and it can be fixed. It has to be fixed immediately. There needs to be press conferences on this. There needs to be an explanation of what I just explained to you about how this process works, where this evidence is, why it's locked up, what it's being used for, and a promise that after Ghislaine Maxwell exhausts her last appeal, that it will all be released, all of it. There's one final fix. The last thing I'll say on this. The final fix is this. There's no statute of limitations. Yeah. No statute of limitations on rape. No statute of limitations on child abuse. These are massive and serious federal crimes. Has Bill Clinton ever been brought in for questioning on this? You know what a Trump administration could do to actually truly rectify all of this is to say, you know what? Not only that, Not only was their client list, but one of them was a president. And we don't take that lightly.
More than one.
And so it's time to bring in Bill Clinton for some serious questioning about this. Bill Clinton had Jeffrey Epstein visit the White House dozens of times. Dozens. All right. Look at Ghislaine Maxwell here in this photo. Look at her glaring at, but look, they know. They know. Bill Clinton flew on the Lolita Express. He was on the island. The women who were abused by Jeffrey Epstein say that Epstein told him Bill Clinton liked him young. That's an exact quote. None of this is debatable. None of it. There it is, right there. What did Jeffrey Epstein say about Bill Clinton? One of Jeffrey Epstein's victims says, he says Clinton liked him young, referring to little girls. These are in the documents. This is not up for debate. We have the evidence. So here's a way that you restore the faith in the American people. You explain what this painting is. Explain to the American, go bring Bill Clinton in and ask him, what's that exactly? Because this was hanging in the foyer of Jeffrey Epstein's $61 million townhouse in the Upper West Side of Manhattan. Why are you wearing Monica Lewinsky's famous blue dress with DNA evidence on it in this chair? Can you explain that, please, Mr. President, sir? If you do that to Bill Clinton, and to my knowledge, ALX, tell me if I'm wrong, to my knowledge, Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton have never had to answer for this on the record, ever. If there was a clip of them doing it, I'd have it.
Yeah, let's bring them in for questioning. That's something I would personally love to see happen, because I can remember being a little girl and this sick bastard looking at me and telling me how pretty I am.
There's that one guy in the photo line, Bill Clinton glares at him. That guy doesn't, that's not real, okay? Bill Clinton in a photo line having some guy ask him about it. I'm talking about has anybody credibly ever asked? In a real interview setting about this. When you're in a chair and you can't get away. That's what we need. That's how you restore faith and trust. That's where the documents are. That's who can get them. And that's the truth.
Let's do it.
We did the research, ladies and gentlemen, and we lay it before you. And we say this. We say simply this. Actual justice for the victims here means doing these things. Actual faith and confidence in the American people and the MAGA base means doing these things. It must be done. The restoration of faith in these departments require you to do it. You're doing great work. I believe that Dan and Cash, I believe that there's really incredible work being done. And moments like this carve out at the faith that you must have to be successful. And so it is an existential crisis. It is a real problem. It's something that really needs to be fixed. And that's how you fix it. Okay? Because I want them to be successful. We do this work because we want them to be successful. We want to be successful in this. No more protecting predators. Okay? All right. That's what we learned, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure we'll learn a lot from our next guest, the great Byron Donalds, congressman, who will be Florida's next governor. Let's rock and roll. Forgive me, Congressman. I just had to get a little something off my chest there. The American people demand justice and demand that things run smoothly and operate smoothly. We were at Alligator Alcatraz, so I wanted to start off by just asking about that. That was a pretty smooth operation and was a remarkable day, actually. I know you flew back with the president. Tell me all about it.
It was a great day. Look, first and foremost, you got to give credit to Governor DeSantis and James Uthmeyer. They did really a fast job of being able to answer the call from the Department of Homeland Security and Kristi Noem. And at the end of the day, what's happened in Florida is, I think people might remember a few months ago when the governor and the legislature were going back and forth in this battle over a deportation package in the state legislature.